So, what we are going to discuss is what I consider to be very important for this season, especially in this time. But it's quite technical, and it's not something that I find easy to teach God's people, except they fulfill some certain qualifications. I think when we progress, we will see the reason why. If you teach it to people who are not yet, who have not come to a little level of maturity, it can produce complacency. So you have to wait to teach it at a particular point, at a particular juncture of growth, before it can be profitable. Otherwise, what was intended to produce good fruit will produce destruction. So the main topic is, how do we access? It's generally on the healing of the soul, but how do we access the help of God? How? Because the reason why Jesus came there is to offer help to man. God loved the world. He gave His Son as a means to restore. Then Jesus made a statement in Luke 19 verse 10. The Son of Man has come to seek to save what was lost. So what was lost will have to be known before we can understand what the condition He wants to restore us to. So how do we access the help of God? He's giving us the help, but you find out that most of us don't have help. Or not, it's wrong to say we don't have help. Most of us cannot access help. We have access to the helper, but we don't have access to His help. That's a strange situation that you find God's people. Most of the time, the methods that He uses to administer help, we don't see any, because of the issue of continued adventure or operation in the carnal mind, a mind that is different from the mind of God, the mind of the helper. What we find is when He's helping us, it comes to us as though this doesn't seem like help. If you would take time to observe your life, what you will notice, your walk with the Lord, the little progress you've made, solutions came out of things that didn't look as though they had any positive thing going to come out of them. So that misconception most of the time positions us to walk contrary to the help that the Lord is administering. So it becomes necessary that we discuss this issue now. The first thing when it comes to do with the healing of man is healing. I'm going to center these discussions on the healing of the soul majorly. You know, man is divided into three: the healing of the spirit, the healing of the body, the soul, and the healing of the body. Healing is another way of mentioning salvation. If you notice, most of the times that Jesus healed people, He saved them from demons, because the essence of disease is actually a manifestation of the invasion of our space by demonic forces. They're coming into our territory, the invasion of our territory by demons. So most of the time, healing and deliverance, they stand hand in hand. So when we say the first point that we're going to deal with is, first, what is a healthy man? You know, you use the same method. That's the good thing about the kingdom. The same methods that man employs physically are actually symbols, pictures of spiritual things. The same method is applied. We've studied other things before. We saw that everything man created was borrowed from the engineering of the human body. The way the first structure was made was the bone structure. It's like when you are building a house, it's the same thing. You make pillars and columns, then beams, then you start to cover them with a softer one, then plaster, which is paint, It's the same thing. Then wires and pipes go in. So physically, that thing that God engineered in the spirit, it manifested in the physical. So if you want to know the solution, how does God heal, just observe the healing method given to man. It's the same law that man taps into. Okay? So that makes it easier for me to understand any topic that I want to look into. Now, if you look at the healing of the soul, we have to look at the healing. At least I know we have a lot of sisters and brothers who are in the medical field, whether as a medical, those studying medicine, or those studying other courses that are related to the medical field. So it will be quite easier even if you are not in the medical field, you have had reason to go and meet a doctor, or you have needed cure for your body one time or the other. So it makes it, I want to be as simple as possible so even the layman can understand. So how do you heal man? If you come before a doctor, the first thing, this is an important factor. The first point is the doctor must know what is a healthy man, what a healthy man is, so that he can be able to know exactly when something is wrong. For the physical treatments that we have, we already know what it means to be a healthy man. So we do not need to start cross-checking a healthy man. What's a healthy man? What's not a healthy man? We go straight to what is the symptoms that show he is sick. But in terms of the spiritual, man doesn't know what a healthy man is, because we were all born with infirmity. We are born unhealthy. We are born in a state of aberration from what we were created to be. So I want to give a practical example to explain this fact. One example that explains clearly to us why we need to first ascertain and to first discover the state of man, the original healthy state of man. So the first point is the healthy, the perfect man. If you notice, the New Testament is trying to reproduce us onto a perfect man. Not only in Ephesians 4, there's a lot of scriptures that the man of God may be perfect. That's the way man was designed. The perfection is measured in contrast the way man was designed to originally operate. You understand? So Peter even mentioned it in 1 Peter 5 verse 10. He said, God, after you have suffered a while, meaning that the process for our restoration will have to involve some certain kind of pain, irrespective of the fact that we don't want it. But it's not a sentimental statement. It's like you came to the doctor and he told you that you are going to have this injection, but you are going to be restored. So, but you are going to be, after you have suffered for a while, the first thing is perfect you, then establish you, settle you. There are 4 things Peter mentioned there in 1 Peter 5 verse 10. So perfection, we must know who the perfect man is. If we don't know, we cannot diagnose his ailments. We can't actually discover what is wrong with him. Because picture a scenario where everybody on earth is born as imbeciles. Imbecility becomes the natural life that man knows. It will become abnormal to see somebody who is healthy. The healthy man may be perceived as sick. Did you understand my point? So you have to know, we have to understand that every human being is born with an infirmity. So it makes us actually not know what a healthy man truly is. If you don't have fear, we will question you, right? How is this guy not afraid? If you don't have worries, you will look abnormal. If you don't have anxieties, you will look abnormal. But the fact is, anxieties, worry, fear, doubt is actually symptoms of a greater malady. You understand my point? So, but because we are born with those infirmities, they have become normal. We no longer think there is something wrong with it. Let me give you an example. Anything that is called sin was not a component of our first structure when God created us. So a statement made by the Lord in the scripture that whatever is done outside of faith is sin. So it means that faith was an integral component of our original existence. So now that we don't live by, but if you see anybody having doubt, it's normal. No, he's sick. So that's why we have to look at the pattern man, the first man who was not infirmed, who was not sick in any way, who was a healthy man, who finally became he was made perfect, having been perfected through sufferings, according to Hebrews chapter 2 verse 10. It was necessary that God would make the author of our salvation perfect through sufferings. And then 5 verse 8, he learned obedience through the things he suffered. And after he was perfected, he became the author of eternal salvation to those that obey him. So, but he is the model, an exemplification of what it means to be healthy. That's why we cannot make much progress without taking a closer look at Jesus. He's the first and only perfect man. You understand? The reason why it's important is because when you come to the doctor must check what is not working well to be able to find out. And you can't know what is not working well except to know what it means that something is working well. So, there's no way. I've mentioned some of the maladies. Some of them are soul-based, some of them are spirit-based, some of them are body-based. Soul-based is ignorance, blindness of the mind, the futility of the mind, the sickness of the soul. I do not intend to discuss these things in detail here because it will consume quite a large measure of time. But I just need us to understand that our maladies are in three areas of our members, the soul, spirit, and body. They all partook of the malady that occurred at the fall. And the main essence of the malady is that God withdrew. We lost God. So the conditions that ensued after the fall was as a result of the absence of God, the absence of access. That's why in the New Testament, as Jesus comes back, our whole healing begins with the restoration of God in our system, and then the increasing of God in our system, and then the fullness of God in our system. Our malady was as a result of the absence of God, and our restoration is as a result of the restoration of God, unto the fullness of God. The more he increases. So for the soul, the healing of the soul, healing of the spirit is done by the presence of God. He needs to return to the spirit to be the life, the light that powers up our spirit. For the soul, the knowledge of him, informations of his laws, his DNA will have to saturate the soul to control it, because soul is information based. And then for the body, he comes into the body. That's why our salvation is divided into three. He comes into the body to saturate the body with that information that has been, infused into the soul from the spirit, so that we leave it out. The body is the gateway into the physical world. We leave it out in manifestation, and once we leave it, we have rest, we have peace, we have all the conditions again that were meant to be in the garden restored. Do you understand how it works? So first, we must know what a healthy man is.